Hey, Estelle Rubio here in the studio, as usual. Thanks to everyone who tuned into my last video and for the comments and responses about what area you'd like me to focus on, what equipment, tutorials and tips I should give you next. Basically, the unanimous winner was to do something with Komplete Kontrol, because I think I gave a little window glimpse into working with it, and I do use it a lot in my musical workflow. I think second was doing something like with vocals, vocal sampling, vocal chops, that kind of thing. So I thought I'd combine the two ideas together, and I'm going to work on a kind of melodic techno vocal style track with lots of filtering and gnarly noises and sounds. I'll also be doing a live performance of this song in the next video, so make sure you subscribe and tune in, please. I just thought I'd show you how I get my inspiration and how you can use Komplete Kontrol to kind of inspire song ideas and direction, and to kind of work quickly as well. Although I always find the inspiration bit really easy, work really quickly through that, and then often stumble with things like arrangements. So we'll look at a little bit of those as well. I'll be using Logic Pro also as my DAW, and we'll also be doing something on the MV-1. A lot of people did mention that, and I'm still getting a lot of comments from the footage that I did of that. So yeah, I mean, I like to use a combination of lots of different manufacturers' equipment, because I think they all have a slightly different timbre and tone, and that just gives a richness and a depth to your tracks. Anyway, let's get on with it. So obviously there's a few different ways to work with Komplete Kontrol. You can either use the interface on the computer, or you can use the windows and the controllers directly on the keyboard. I tend to use the interface on the DAW to begin with, until I kind of get my sounds and audition them and choose them. And then once I'm kind of into the musical and the filtering, then I kind of move over to here, because obviously all the controllers are going to be set up for me. You can also obviously add new controllers, so we'll have a look at that as well. So yeah, let's just get started on the DAW. So let's open up the interface. See, I've had it in there already, it's right at the top. Let's just open a stereo version of Komplete Kontrol, and I always just click here. There's so many shortcuts. And this way you can kind of see all the familiar windows that you're used to. And the way I started with getting some inspiration for this idea, I just thought of a theme. I just thought, okay, water. One of the ways you can also search is by a keyword. So I'm just going to type in water. So basically it will just kind of scan across all of your soft synths, all of your plugins, and anything that has a kind of water type sound or water in the title. It's kind of a combination of both of those. Let's have a little look. You can see here, got a few. And I love that you just click and you get that little immediate audition. Although it's generally not in key, which I find a bit annoying. I've never updated that yet. So got some really nice little water trickly kind of sounds. So the one that kind of started off the idea, and I just had a couple of chords, and I just think you can't beat a kind of progression just to kind of get some vocal ideas going. So I was thinking of water, these kind of weird watery trickly sounds. Then I just thought, what about water? H2O. And then I came up with this lyric, which is, I need you like H2O, O, O, O. So this will give you a little idea of what I first came with and how I'm going to expand this vocal idea into a kind of little synth idea and into vocal chops. Like H2O. So that's how I kind of first came up with it, but I was like, yeah, that sounds a bit dirgy. It's nice to have the chords, but you don't really hear chords so much, do you, in kind of melodic techno or dance tracks? So now I've got the progression, I thought, okay, let's start looking for a chunky bass. So obviously I've got the kind of basics, just of some random sounds that I also have, and just basic kicks from a battery kick. I've just got a snare and some hi-hats. So let's try and take that kind of rough chordal idea and translate it into a grooving bass part. So I'm going to go to one of my kind of staple favourites that I use quite a lot. And I think it's okay to do that, especially if you're kind of building your own sound. In different keys, things sound really, really different and often have completely different resonances anyway. So because I know the name of this one, I can just, and it's actually, ironically, we're kind of doing all the elements here. This one's called Burning Psychoma. And I think I'm just going to start with one note and then I'm going to build into the, just record that in. Got a few incidental sounds there in the background, and then let's record it in with the progression. So I've just put in a few repeats of that section. Well, actually I've got the first one just holding the note and then the progression kind of gradually building in. I haven't added any of the automation or touched any of the knobs yet, but what we have set up here is we have the kind of basic routing for some of the effects, like the feedback, the phaser, the cutoff, and they're all the same here. So sounds quite cool, the cutoff. The effect I really like is actually here, playing around and then I'm going to add those controllers. So when I do it live, I can kind of play around with them and then ultimately put them in as I build the song. So let's also have a quick look at setting up extra controllers to the ones that are assigned already. So there's a couple of knobs that I'm not going to use. So I'm going to set up this one to the effect I was just playing around with. So let's go to control surfaces. We're going to learn assignment. Just going to move this one here. So now I've got the structure and obviously really important, the kind of evolving, going to be filtered bass line. I've kind of gone back to my water cert. The next section is the break. Obviously the break's kind of really important. It's usually the melodic part. I've found another sound that's kind of given me inspiration. It's called trickle water. It's a kind of repeating drone type of sound generator. Let's have a listen to it and see how I can use it and include it in the track. And kind of put some effects on it, maybe like a side check. I've actually bounced that out through a bust channel, kind of committed it to audio. It was kind of a bit random, but actually there were a few really cool little pieces. So I got the little white noise sample, which I've used in the breakdown, and then I bring in the more melodic parts of it. So there's often so much you can do with sounds and different samples. So let's have a little bit of a look in detail at those. So now sticking with Komplete Kontrol, I'm just going for, I love Absynth. I just need something in the break that's obviously not the bass line, just to kind of keep the kind of melodic structure going. So I've got this quite nice random little synth. Let's hear it properly. So I'm going to use this in the breakdown section because it's really kind of harmonic and melodic, and it might act as a nice underpin for the vocal, which I'm going to record in a moment. Because I'm working on the break, I need to do some kind of drum fills, so I'm going to load up the TR-01 and bounce out some of the cool drum fills from there. So I'm just going to turn off the bass emulator samples there, so I'm just hearing the kick. I quite like that one. It's a bit of a new order kind of vibe to it. Yeah, I think that'll work. So I'm just going to bounce that out. Send that to verse 12. Oops, there's something on there already, but it'll still work. So yeah, you can multi-use them if you need. So yeah, let's record that in, commit it. I mean, also you're saving processing power, but you're also kind of committing to your ideas, which I think is quite good to kind of move along, get some pace going with your work.
To be okay, and let me.
Now I've got like a rough vocal idea. I normally just lay down a rough one and then kind of start chopping into it, doing all the creative stuff, and then later on doing a kind of proper take when I've got all the structure and parts in the right order. So going back into Komplete Kontrol, we're going to play around with Form, which is essentially a sampler, but it's got some great tricks and presets. Anyway, let's have a look. Getting that to work with a little vocal chop from the section that we just worked in. So this little section here, I just really like the staccato kind of type of vocal. So I really think this could be a good candidate for synthy, side-chained vocal effect. Just a quick tip. If you need to rescan your libraries, because we are going to look at some third-party integration into Komplete Kontrol as well. This is one of the great things. You have access and search through your entire library. So you can have, I mean, I've got my Diva running through Komplete Kontrol. We'll look at that in a sec. And Legend, for example, so you've got the effects and the actual sounds. Let's get on with Form, but I wish you could use the full version of it. So this is the actual little chop vocal that I chose, and I actually dragged it into the version of Form in Reactor, and then just saved it as an ensemble, and I'm just accessing it now from the desktop, just so I can use it in my live, so I can trigger these sounds through Komplete Kontrol. Quite like this one because it's got that kind of extra little freaky off sequence bit. But then this one's, I think it's going to sit better in the mix. So let's bounce that one in, commit. Free up that processing if you need it. I know there's a lot of people who aren't working on the top Mac or anything, and you kind of have to work around. And I just think having your files as audio is always a good idea. Can't tell you how many tracks I've gone back to and I'm like, oh, I haven't got the iLog, I haven't got this, or it's not compatible anymore. Your new version or update. Missing to audio, pro tip for processing and for kind of legacy reasons. So yeah, I like this little bit. I'm excited. I'll re-record the vocal over this little groove because I think this is going to be quite a part of the song. making me think now kind of oxygen as well. So H2O, oxygen, there's a lot of Yeah, I love working with vocals. I mean, obviously it's a lot easier for me to be able to just sing stuff myself. I don't think I'm the best singer though. So I even think if you're a guy, you can format something, take a very, very small sample and create something entirely new. Let's go back to my water theme there. So you can really see how the theme ties it in. Sometimes when you're just endlessly searching for sounds, you can just get so lost in a rabbit hole that I'm not making any decisions. But this way, so I'm just going to set up a new Komplete Kontrol. There it is. And I'm going to go to third party, which if you click vendor, you can see there I've also got Legend and I've got Diva. So I'm going to bring Diva in. And I'm just again going to search in Diva for water. There's nothing. So water. Okay, drip. Water, drip. Okay, got something. It's giving me the audition. Try the octave. Yeah, I think that'll be cool to use somewhere, kind of maybe in the break or wherever. So let's just record some of that in. Kind of gathering sounds, so when it comes to kind of the mix and the arrangement, I've got a few different ones to choose from. Let's have a look at Legend. Let's have a look for water themes as well. No, nothing again. Yeah, that's quite cool. Again, just so quick to tweak. Use that somewhere. All these little incidental sounds. You kind of hear that a lot, don't you now? Incidental, weird basses that are not even bass lines. So let's have some of those. I do remember Sonar. Yeah, that was it. Oh yeah, I like that. Just chuck some of these in the deep end. Pun intended. As I said, I was going to include some of the Roland MV-1. I'm basically just using this with my DAW, so I've just got the jacks to jacks and the outs going into my Prism Titan. From there, I can basically just kind of bounce ideas in as audio, because I'm actually going to use this live when I do my live performance to kind of tweak some sounds, and then I'll just have it recording as I'm going. There's some really great sounds on here which I think are just going to add the finishing touches and some real squelchy kind of bits for the build up and breaks and the kind of final drop. So I found a couple of nice sounds. I've also got a pretty cool bass, which I've added a nice little controller for. The cut-off's really squelchy on this. Yeah, so let's have a little bit of that. Final break, let's put those in. idea of kind of where the track's going. I know I've played it in like little bits and sections, but like I said, there's going to be a full live version coming to my channel, well, as soon as I record it, which I'm hoping to do tomorrow. But I was using loopback audio to record all the audio going in, and I'm using my Prism today instead of my Anubis because I'm kind of routing and setting up for the live, and I've got so many different things going in. The MV-1, the keyboard, a couple of different vocals, the machiner. So I'm using that one today in my setup. I'm actually building some sample packs at the moment, so I'd also be really curious to know what you think of that. I'm going to be working with some incredible professional women, like violin players that I work with, who work with Sophie Ellis-Bextor. I'm currently touring with them since she's had her renaissance, and you know, some amazing sax players, drummers, great vocalists. So yeah, what's your main request for a sample pack? What is it you want it to do? Do you rather have melodies, or would you rather have like vocals? It'd be really interesting to get some feedback, and yeah, looking forward to launching that into the world. It's late. I'm rambling. If you got to the end of the video, thank you, and yeah, tune in, subscribe, watch my next version.